to the channel, everybody. So last week when I did the test ride on the FC, I was noticing that the temperature kept spiking. So after I did the test ride, I started investigating what the issue was. And come to find out, I think the water pump is bad because there's a little weep hole at the bottom of the pump, and antifreeze was coming out of it in a small amount. And when I opened up the radiator cap, it didn't seem to be flowing really good. So I figure it's one of two problems. It's either the water pump or the radiator is clogged. So I'm going to start with the water pump and test the radiator when I have the water pump disconnected. For the amount that it costs to get a water pump, I think it was like $60. I think it's worth just changing it and starting fresh with a new one. Then I can test the radiator, make sure that flows good, and even flush it out while I have it apart. But just like anything else with owning old cars, when one thing goes in one car, they seem to go in all the cars. So I got issues with every car now. Not really major issues, but issues that I do have to address. So today, the issue I have to address is the rear brake lights do not work in the MG. So when I put on the brakes, there's nothing at the rear brakes. I'll show you. Yeah, so when I press the brakes down, you can see nothing happens. So when troubleshooting this, I want to start at the easiest spot. So to me, the easiest spot would be the rear light bulbs. What is kind of unusual is usually both light bulbs won't go at once. But I'm going to start there regardless. I'm going to check both light bulbs and just make sure that they're both good. What's kind of unusual about these MG rear taillights, they're actually two pieces and they both come apart. Alright, so now I gotta find out which one of these bulbs is the rear brake lights. I'll first turn it on and see which one's the directional and which one's the light. This is going to be the lights first. And now the directional. Alright, so I know this is going to be the brake light. So I'm going to take that out and look at the filaments and make sure they're intact. And they both look good. I have them in the sun. They look good, but that doesn't necessarily mean they are good. So I'm going to leave this out for right now. And I'll check the other one. So a good way that you can tell if a light bulb is good, if you're having a wiring issue and you want to eliminate this as being a possibility, you can put the light bulb, this part of the light bulb, on the negative side or the ground side of your battery, and then you take a wire and go from the positive side and connect one side to the positive side, and then the other end touch it to each of these contacts. And by doing that, you can get a direct line right to the light bulb and it should light up on both sides. So I'm going to do that now. So I'm going to touch this brass part to the the ground. I'm gonna put this into the positive side. And then I'm gonna touch, but you don't wanna touch this wire to the negative side or you're gonna get a good spark. So I'm gonna just touch that contact, and that works. And I'm gonna touch the other side, and that works. All right, so we know this light bulb is good. Troubleshooting is that you always start at the source of power. So I checked the battery. The battery's good. Then I worked my way to the power supply to the brake switch, where the fuse is, and there's power on both sides of the fuse. So the next step is finding the brake light switch. And so I start at the master cylinder. A lot of vehicles, the brake light switch is right on the master cylinder, but this one actually it's not. So what I'm gonna do, there's the master cylinder there. It's a single chamber master cylinder, so there's only one brake line leaving it. So that brake line goes along there and heads over to the other side where there's a jumbled mess of wires over there. So I follow that brake line all the way over, and this is where the switch is. It's right here. So I've already have seen that there's been an issue here. We've had a broken wire here and actually a broken wire here that was frayed. So where I'm gonna start now is on the primary side of the switch. With this switch here, there's always constant power to the primary side of the switch. So now I just wanna make sure that it has power there. All right guys, so I got this set up. I have my voltage tester, and I found out that this is the switch right here. In the past, I've had issues with these wires. This wire was pretty frayed, and this one also was actually apart. It was an old junction that wasn't any good. So I did replace this and did replace this connector right here. So now what I'm gonna do is see if I have power at this point. So what I'm gonna do is find the primary side of this switch, the side that constantly has power, which I think it's this side. So I wanna just find out and make sure we have power up to this point. So I'm gonna just find a ground right over here. And look at that, we have 12 volts, so that's good. So we know everything up to this point is good. So what I'm gonna do now is put this back together and actually take off the secondary side and test that switch. So what I'm gonna do is pull this off. Now I'm gonna go depress the brakes and see if we get power on the secondary side of this. Because right now, I'll try it and we shouldn't have power there. And we don't. All right, so now I'm gonna go depress the brake and see if that gives us power there. All right, so I have the brake depressed now, and I have my voltage tester positive on the secondary side of that switch, and I'm gonna touch to the ground, and we're still not getting anything. So that tells me that that switch is bad. Just to make sure it is that issue, what I'm gonna do is jump out this switch. I'm gonna put a connector wire from here to here, and that should turn on the rear brake lights, and that will tell me that that switch is bad. All right, so I have this wire, and I'm gonna just connect those together, and we can check out and see if we have power, because this can tell me too if we have a bad wire going to the back lights. All All right, so let's go take a look. All right, so that's a good sign. So that's telling me that the wires are good going back here, and it's just a bad switch. So now I'm going to replace that switch. Anything electrical on a car, I always like to disconnect the power. Even the most simple things, if you hit the wire the wrong way, it just feels safer to me just to disconnect the power. So what I read about changing these switches is as long as you don't have any pressure on the brakes and you don't lose any fluid when you take the switch out, you shouldn't need to bleed the brakes as long as the level of the brake fluid doesn't drop when you take it apart. And the angle that it's actually at, it's actually heading up. So it isn't like it's on its side like on a master cylinder. When you would take that off, that a lot of it would drain out. In this case, I don't think a lot will drain out, so I'm gonna see how that goes. All right, so now I'm gonna remove that switch. I have the new switch. It's pretty basic. It's just basically a pressure switch. Just got an in and out going into it. So what I'm gonna do is strip the wires that go into the switch now, because these are just this type of connector that you just have to tighten the screws down onto the bare wire. So I'm going to take those connectors off of there, and I'm going to remove that switch, and hopefully not too much fluid comes out. I'm gonna put the terminal back on the battery and get power back to the system. And we can take a look, see if it fixed. Right, guys, it's the moment of truth. Let's see how we did. All right, awesome. We got real brake lights. So one old car is back in action. Now we have 2 more to go. Anytime you're dealing with a brake system in old cars like this, unless they've been converted to a dual chambered master cylinder, what that means is that there's 2 chambers that handle 2 pairs of tires separately. So in case you ever lose your brakes, you have a backup with the secondary chamber or the second chamber. So you have at least a little bit of braking left if you ever lose a brake line or a wheel cylinder or anything. But with old cars like this, they only had single chambers. So if you lose a brake line or if you lose a master cylinder or any of the seals, then you completely lose your brakes and you'll have to be dependent on the emergency brake. That's when emergency brakes really had a value, which they do now too, but they're definitely like the 3rd thing that you would use for braking. So in this case, anytime I do anything with brakes on a single chamber master cylinder type vehicle, I really make sure the brakes are good because I don't want to rely on that emergency brake. So where I did interrupt or tap into the brake system, I really want to make sure that there's no leaks. So I really pumped the brakes really hard and made sure there was no leaks around that new switch. Next week, what I'm going to do is pull the Scout into the garage and replace the fuel pump. I've been having issues with the carburetor flooding out and not having enough fuel too. A lot of irregularity in the flow of the gas going into the carburetor. So I did clean the carburetor and it already was rebuilt. I thought I had a spare carburetor, but it actually ended up being a different carburetor. So what I ended up doing is cleaning out the carburetor and making sure everything was working correctly. But come to find out, I did some investigating and found out that the fuel pump was bad, or I believe is bad. So I ended up ordering this new old stock fuel pump. So I'm gonna pull the Scout in the garage and change that next week. I like the old fuel pumps with the glass on the bottom. I think that's pretty cool with the filter is. All right, guys, well, that's gonna be it for today. We're gonna also do some FC work, change the water pump, and we are continuing work on the CJ. Tyler's been hot at work on this. He removed the rear bumper, and we're gonna start doing some videos on this also. But you guys have a great week, and I will see you next week. One last thing, guys. I wonder if you could help me out with this decision. Over the winter, we had a tall pine tree that broke and fell apart due to a woodpecker put a bunch of big holes into the tree and consequently rotted out the crotch of that tree, and it basically broke off. The size of that tree is about 3 foot round, and it broke off about a quarter of the way up. So I got to deal with, cleaning that up, which isn't bad. We'll just chop up that and it'll make good outside firewood. But what I was thinking, I don't know if can you see it? Can you see what the possibility is? How about now? So what I was thinking is I always wanted to do some chainsaw carving, and I thought this would be an awesome opportunity. So over this summer, I'm thinking of doing this for a project, and I was wondering if you could help me out. If you think I should do the traditional, like a bear carving, or in this area we have a lot of eagles, and I thought for something different to do an eagle. So in the comments, if you guys wouldn't mind, just let me know what your opinion is, or if you have any other ideas. If you think of, it's kind of small to do like a moose, but I was thinking also like a totem type setup. But I'm thinking of cutting it off about halfway up and getting rid of that portion and doing a carving on the rest of it during the summer. If you could give me an opinion on that, thanks a lot. I'll see you guys later.